government officials insist that this an isolated incident can't get this.
Three billion human lives were lost August 29th, 1997. The survivors banded together to form the Resistance. In Terminator 1, we were told that only organic material could be sent through the time portal, and that Kyle Reese and the original T-800 were the only ones that made it through before the time machine was destroyed. On July 3rd, 1991, we learned that was conveniently not true. The studios rejoiced.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your cock.
You forgot to say please.
Wait, what?
What are you, like a living robot or something?
I'm a cybernetic organism. Living tissue over metal endoskeleton.
No, what are you doing? You were about to kill that guy! No! We don't kill anyone here!
Why?
What the hell are you doing?
He'll live.
You gotta cut it out with this I-affirmative stuff. It's no problemo. Hasta la vista, baby!
Why?
Mom!
Why do you cry? Miles Dyson did it.
Mom's gonna waste them!
Hasta la vista, baby. There is one more CPU, and it must be destroyed also. I know now why you cry, and it's something I could never do. Dad, you can't go, Dad. No, I'm not your father, John. Yeah, you are my dad. Either you or Kyle Reese, either one doesn't really make sense.
Hello, and welcome to MBW Live, the Movie Explorer. I'm your host, Michael, and today we're talking about Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Directed by James Cameron, who made the first one, The Terminator. T2 is the sequel. Arguably, no, it's not arguably. It's a different film, but to say that he didn't try to add more and improve it, and it actually be good, if not better, depending on the type of movie you like, yeah, you can't argue that. I apologize for being a little late. Something that I should have known about came up. And then I tried to cut out the couple minutes of just sitting there, but without fail, there's always something that goes wrong, right? I don't know if it's the software, my computer, or what. Literally, I'm always trying to fix something right before, and usually during. So, that out of the way. Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out in 1991. It was a huge film when it came out. Did really well at the box office. There's a lot in that film. It had some, at the time, state-of-the-art CGI. He was pushing his previous film, The Abyss, the CGI work in that film, with the water tentacle. He kind of, or the company that he employed took it even further in Terminator 2. And literally, just like almost all of his movies, him and his team and the people that are working on the film tend to have to invent something that doesn't exist to make the film work. I hope you could hear it in the beginning, because on my end I couldn't hear it, and it came in a couple seconds after. So the storyline is, over 10 years have passed since the first machine called the Terminator tried to kill Sarah Connor and her unborn son John. The man who will become the future leader of the human resistance against the machines is now a healthy young boy. However, another Terminator called the T-1000 is sent back through time by the supercomputer Skynet. This new Terminator is more advanced and more powerful than its predecessor, and its mission is to kill John Connor when he's still a child. However, Sarah and John do not have to face the threat of the T-1000 alone. Another Terminator, identical to the same model that tried and failed to kill Sarah Connor in 1984, is also sent back through time to protect them. Now, the battle for tomorrow has begun. That is by Eric GGG. Yeah. I meant. We. Are you saying you can hear me? What the heck? Okay. Well, that's always good to hear. So, now I lost my place. Terminator 2. Oh man, what was I about to say just now? Dang it. Hate it when that happens. Anyway, Schwarzenegger wasn't really the star of the Terminator, although in retrospect he was. But in this film, he's the star, and he also plays the good guy. He was the villain in the previous one. Also stars Linda Hamilton, again, as Sarah Connor, Edward Furlong, John Connor, and Robert Patrick as the T-1000. All of which were incredible in their roles, although Edward Furlong was basically just a kid. I wouldn't call him incredible compared to other child actors. But he did fine. It wasn't... From today's watching, maybe one or two lines is distracting. I feel like there's very obvious ADR that I didn't notice before. So that's a thing. Oh man. So there's a bunch of stuff I'm gonna explore with you guys and show you. There's an awesome VHS promo. That's God, you couldn't even recreate it better now if you tried. It's so, and it's not like they're like, yeah, this is we're doing that thing, those cheesy VHS promos. It was just, that's what it was of that time. It's awesome. Oh yeah, something I was gonna mention is I found out on my previous stream that I took it a little too far on the behind the scenes, and it was flagged for copyright. It got taken down, and I appealed it, we'll see how that goes. I probably will end up just having to cut out that segment. So in the future, I got to be careful with that. And going forward, I'm going to be not every film, some films. Well, let me get this out first. I'm going to start doing reaction videos, if you want to call it that, just to, I call it a watch along, but sadly we can't actually do that, like showing you. I have to do it in reaction video style, which is not my favorite. Don't watch that. Not a fan, but it actually makes sense in the context of what I'm doing with this show. So you can see, because I rewatch every film that I cover on this, so I might as well share a little bit of that with you guys, and you can kind of get my initial reactions when I'm doing it, or thoughts and stuff. And then this will be the companion piece, a live show. So whether you watched or not, they go hand in hand. So in that regard, it just adds to each other, because we'll sort of get to watch it together. You'll get my initial thoughts, reactions, and then we talk about it here on this live show, which is the cool part. If you do watch that, is that we can interact in real time, live, about the movie. So it's just adding more context to whatever film I'm talking about on the show. So we'll see how that goes. I won't do that for every single film, just like I won't do a live part to every reaction, watch along, whatever you want to call it. But I'll try to do as many as I can, and a lot of them will... sorry, just flustered with this whole thing. Too much about what's going on and the usual crap. So let's get into Terminator 2, what you're here for. 16 minutes in. That's another good thing, is I can add chapters after this, and you can just skip majority of this, whoever's watching this later. Man, I feel like there's something I still was forgetting. Well, let me read some of the trivia, see if I can remember. No, that's not it. Not look great. Oh, it was yeah, just kind of, this movie shouldn't exist. If you watched the Terminator, it was kind of really clear in that film. Kyle Reese had said, this is what I was remembering, because it was in the 3-minute the movie in 3 minutes parody thing that I did. Oh my god, this piece of crap. Kyle Reese in the Terminator said that only him and the original T-800 made it through the portal, and then it was destroyed and nobody else could come through. Period. Well, in Terminator 2, they kind of just ignored that, and they acknowledged what happened in the first one, obviously, and they, even in the opening narration, say that 2 Terminators were sent back. That wasn't mentioned in the Terminator. I think Kyle Reese would have known that, because it would have made it could have made sense. They just clearly made it work, but you have to turn a blind eye. For example, they're sending them to different times, which is fine. You could have sent 2 at the same time during that time, 2 different time periods, one in the 80s, one in the 90s, one to go after Sarah, one to go after John. But that's not what was established in the first one. So it still works, but it's technically a plot hole, because he clearly said that it was just him and the other Terminator and nobody else could come through. And clearly that was mentioned to say, hey, there's no backup, it's just me. Like, there's no one else coming to save you. And they just glaze over that fact for Terminator 2, which is interesting, because I'm curious if James Cameron like if it was from the get-go his idea to make a sequel, or if he was kind of being pushed in that direction, like, hey, that would be cool, like let's continue that, and he was like, yeah, I got an idea. Or if he was like, I got an idea for a sequel and we're doing it, because that's kind of how he is. He's not like a studio director who's just like, what's my next job, guys? Oh, that one, cool. He does whatever he wants, and he writes most of them, or contributes at least. So I'm just curious, because he doesn't normally, that's like a studio thing to do, where it's like, oh man, we incinerated the slasher killer, how are we going to bring him back for the sequel? Oh, that's right, we don't care, and we just do it anyway. It doesn't matter, it's supernatural, he's alive, he never dies. That's like studio shit, and they do that for other movies obviously, or other genres. But interesting, because you could argue like maybe he didn't know, but you can't say like, oh well, they sent it after 5 minutes, because it was destroyed. That's impossible, and it didn't happen before. So unless this was seconds after, or he just didn't know for some reason, and in that regard it does work, but it's a little fishy. But in usual Cameron fashion for the sequels, everything's elevated. The same way that in Aliens he upped everything, not just like, oh, it's got to be faster paced and more action. It's like every level was, every facet of that movie was, he tried to elevate it in terms of the characters, the acting. Screen is frozen. Oh, that's great. Ah, this is great. All right, let me try to fix this. That's great. Let me know if it's working now. I tried a new thing. Basically, the camera that I'm using is limited in the USB connection, so I have to use a capture card. This is the first time I'm using it, so clearly it had an issue there. Is it working? Okay. Yeah, oh, that's great. Something always going wrong. So yeah, in usual Cameron fashion, every aspect of the movie was brought to a higher level. The characters, the action, the story concepts, the special effects, the visual effects, arguably the cinematography. And it's hard to do, to actually, usually it's most sequels, and I'm real curious to see how Avatar 3 is going to be. He's never made a third that he's directed, written and directed, or helped write. But he's basically the king of doing that to sequels, so I'm very curious for Avatar 3. But he's probably, I mean, there's other directors that have done it too, but I don't think as consistently as he has, and also as successfully as he has. He, like I've said multiple times, he's got some kind of tether to the audience, where whatever he does, people just connect with it and they eat it up. And I wouldn't even say it's like, you know, TikTok, where it's kind of like brainless and like it's sucking people in because of that. It's like he knows what he's doing, and it's not like some sellout thing. There's art in everything that he does. So I don't know. It's one of a kind. Nobody else has done it to the level he's done it in terms of sequels and how successful they are. And Terminator 2 was, I mean, Aliens was successful, but Terminator 2 was definitely his biggest movie at the time. And it was perfectly fitting because I think it was the biggest movie he had done at the time, the biggest budget, and in scope and everything. And there's just so many. Like I said last week with The Abyss, that movie didn't quite have the like iconic moments and lines, but he's clearly gifted at that. Whether that's to his forethought or not, he has come up with iconic lines that are funny, that are memorable. Terminator 2, Arnold's just pumping those out left and right. Even like smaller ones, or I don't even know if it's smaller, but because obviously there's like Hasta La Vista, baby, no problemo. But there's like the moments where he gets off the bike and he shoots the guard in the legs, and John Connor's like, "What are you doing?" That's his voice cracking, and he says, "He'll live." It's just filled with moments like that. And the part where he peels off his skin on the arm to show Miles Dyson, "Listen to me very carefully." It's not "I'll be back," but it's still the way it's done and the way Arnold does it. It's still a like memorable line and moment. Yeah. So let's get into this. Oh, The Abyss. That's the wrong one. So this is a VHS promo, and it's pretty hilarious. I'm gonna have to skip through it and like pause it often, as I learned. And I told you, gotta be careful with the copyright stuff. But here we go. Oh wait, this gotta make sure you can hear it. No, that's not it.
Check this out. The biggest video of the year is here now.
Talk about someone else who was just born a Terminator for some reason. Robert Patrick. He if he would have been the one, I mean, he could have been just as iconic as Arnold if he was the Terminator instead of Arnold in the first one, but as the metallic guy, T-1000.
Is now on video cassette.
Stay here. I'll be back.
The movie that the megastar.
I'm Robert Patrick. In Terminator 2, I play the T-1000 prototype Terminator, the future's most fearsome machine.
Just gonna try to get to the certain moments.
Can be applied directly to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the most spectacular film ever created.
The most spectacular film ever created. I love this promo.
Renter awaiting street date. Get set for the biggest and most exciting event in the history of video. On behalf of Arnold, Linda, myself, and the entire Terminator 2 cast and crew, welcome to our team. We'll see you on video.
The biggest movie.
You know what? I think this might have been. I think this is mixed with other stuff, but this feels like a commercial for a video store to like carry Terminator 2. I don't know why they wouldn't do that anyway, but I guess it was still not what it is today. But there's a moment at the end here with the family. This is just gold.
T2 video reminding them to ask about purchasing previously viewed cassettes. All around the world, people are asking the same question about Terminator 2.
Whoa, how did they do that? I've got to see that again.
Oh, back in the days when they were saying, hey, isn't it cool you can rewind your movies? Can't do that in the movie theater. It looks like crap, but you can rewind it.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe we rented this tape and you're going through it 30 seconds at a time.
Come on, Dad, I want to see Arnold.
Come on, Dad, I want to see Arnold.
Wow, don't you dare rewind that thing again.
So video retailers everywhere are offering previously viewed copies at a very special price.
I think you've been watching a little too much Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So go to
Yeah, I bet she has. Bet she been. Who came up with this commercial? I want to know. They're awesome. I think you've been watching too much Arnold Schwarzenegger. I say that to my wife sometimes. I think I'll be okay with that one because it's some ancient commercial that I don't. Who knows though? Someone will claim it and they'll be faking it just to, because that stuff happens on YouTube. But I don't really want to play around with it. You got the gist of it. Oh, if you want to see James Cameron testing out the minigun for that scene. You know, it's funny. I don't know. I get into politics stuff. James Cameron clearly has a, as much as he's like an environmental guy, not that you can't care about the environment. I care about the environment, just not. I don't think stuff should be banned because of that. Just try to advance technology. Yeah, if solar and wind can do it, great, but it can't do it right now. Doesn't mean you ban everything else that still works right now. Anyway, he clearly has an affinity for guns. If you watch all of his movies, except for Titanic, but there's a gun in that one, just a very small part. And also, like, he always features the military and military technologies and all that kind of stuff. He's testing the gun. That wasn't necessary, but shit, I would have done the same thing. I'd have been like, I'm gonna be the stunt double for these scenes. But I don't know. Getting into politics now. James Cameron loves guns, damn it. Don't take that away from him. Or us. I got Arnold right here. Let's see what Arnold has to say right now.
Well, Arnold, it's very nice to be here in Harvard talking with you about Terminator 2 for a cinema showcase. And you said something right before the camera started to roll. I was kidding you about the bike here. And you said, well, that's the Terminator's bike, and I'd like to have it. And I said, well, you've got the airplane. Don't be greedy. Now you're telling me you didn't get the airplane.
I don't negotiate my film deals with the airplanes. I mean, this is two different things. If I need an airplane, I buy it myself. If I do a film, it's just a simple thing. You get a salary and you get the percentage of the deal, and that's that. I mean, I don't know where the plane should come in.
Well, how did that start, I wonder?
It could easily be that it started because Koralka helped me to get.
How are they going to do that?
To do that and what he means. So I had, luckily, when I read the script, we went away to Cannes last May, and Jim Cameron was sitting right next to me. So I could always ask him, I said, well, Jim, I said, please, do me a favor, explain this scene here. Because I didn't get it right away. And it was very complex the way he wrote it, but that's the way his mind works. And then finally, as we did the film, I could really understand why he...
There's a note on this. I think a lot of actors, especially ones that, I mean, not even especially, but I guess in what I'm trying to highlight, there's a lot of actors that kind of get a rap that they're not good, or yeah, I don't know, they're just looked down on, or they're not taken serious, or yeah, people just think they're bad or something, but they happen to be popular, which can be true. But I think so much of it has to do with and this is in terms of directing too, with casting, but just casting the right person for the role and knowing how to use them. So Arnold is an example that I mean, the problem is I love all the movies he's been in, because even if they're not like, it doesn't have that magic where it's like Predator or something, or the Terminator movies, he's just entertaining to watch, and some, honestly, to laugh at in some of the movies. And he's always got like the iconic, "Remember when I told you I'd kill you last? I lied." Commando. Like every single movie he's got some kind of like one-liners. Clearly they're after the Terminator and Predator, and starting with the Terminator, they're clearly caught on to the fact like, oh man, he's the guy to say one-liners with, like, as he's flexing and doing something, and he's perfect for that. But also, like, acting wise, if he's used right, and James Cameron knew how to use him, he's great. Like, he's great as a Terminator, and I think you can get the false sense of like, oh, well, that's easy, he's being robotic and he's not human. And no, that's not easy to do. Like, let's see you do it convincingly, where you don't question it, or it's make it entertaining. He made it entertaining and believable. Although his accent at times, it's I'm a cybernetic organism. Metal, I can't even remember it now, and I freaking said it in the thing. Dang it. Blah 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 blah. Metal endoskeleton. Living flesh on metal endoskeleton, or something like that. It can get I don't know. You kind of, if you start thinking too deep about it, like, why does this Terminator have this accent when he can imitate people's voices, and they made him metal endoskeleton, like, but it's just one of those things. They made it work, and it's entertaining, honestly. But in some movies, that accent is too, like, just way too distracting, where it's like, it might still be an entertaining, good movie, but it's, you can't say like, wow, like he really shined in this role. It's more just like entertaining kind of thing. But yeah, James Cameron knew how to use him. Same in True Lies, although to an even better effect in the Terminator, obviously.
Then how much it really adds to the story, because it's absolutely tremendous as ideas. It's just very genius-like, and you know, those people that enjoyed the first Terminator are definitely going to enjoy this one 3 times as much.
I must say I agree, really. I might have been a little bit skeptical about this one, but made a believer out of me, I'll tell you for sure.
I was a skeptical too, because it's very hard, to be honest with you. Everyone had the same concern. That how are you going to take a movie that was so successful and that people liked so much?
I guess, I mean, this wasn't my time, obviously, but Bobby Wigan, I've come across a couple interviews with her, and or this program. Man, different time. I don't know why they would be, or I guess maybe this is, I don't know how many. I know they did multiple press tour stops and interviews and stuff, but this one is kind of prominently out there. It doesn't seem like the person you'd be wanting to talk about the Terminator. I just, even when you see this lady, like, she doesn't look like she's a huge Terminator fan.
Not only in film, but on video, and in cable, on the network, wherever played around the world. How are you going to make a film now that will please that audience? Maybe the expectations are going to be too high. And then when we finished the film, and we tested it, you know, that was one of the first things they wrote down. I enjoyed it more than the first one. And that is the greatest compliment you can have, and makes Jim Cameron and myself.
And that's exactly what I was talking about. Jim Cameron knows how to do that. Whether you think the actual film is better. He knows what to do to make the general audience have a better time, to enjoy it more. Because they're different films, and I've said it in the Terminator one. The Terminator's sci-fi horror, this is sci-fi action. They're different movies. But obviously the same subject matter, which is interesting in itself, to take literally the same storyline and with different styles made from the same person. But in general, I mean, the general audience, they're just going to like that. It's going to be more accessible than a sci-fi horror. I mean, horror is a huge popular genre, but it's still small, like when you think of the whole global audience. Oh, damn it.
All of us feel very, very comfortable now.
Arnold, who taught you to twirl the gun? Is that a shotgun? I'm sorry.
It's a shotgun, but it is handled like a Winchester, basically, with the same cocking system. And what we try to figure out is I just learned it. You know, it's just because I knew that I had to drive the motorcycle with one hand. Usually on the street, you could drive the motorcycle and it is quite strong. And so when he wants to go through a wall to save Linda Hamilton, the Sarah Connor character, he goes right through it, pulls out into safety.
Okay. Oh, Arnold, again, thank you for visiting with us here on Cinema Showcase.
Next time I get the salary and the house.
True Terminator fan right here, ladies and gentlemen. I love Terminator 2. I love when everyone gets shot and you pull the skin off your arm.
Get a salary and a vacation home somewhere. That would be terrific, but that's not the reality. That's only what you read in the press. It's all magic, but it's not true.
Well,
the only reason I bring that up is because it just doesn't ring true. Because clearly this is her job. She's going to be acting different than if this was just like personal, not on the air.
Glad we have that cleared up. Now we can talk.
Successful, and that people liked so much, not only in the film, but on video and on cable and the network or wherever it played around the world. How are you going to make a film now that will please that audience? Maybe they so many injuries on my fingers, but I finally got it and we did it, and then I rode the bike and learned it with the bike, and it came out great, I thought. So, as you know, the behavior becomes more and more human towards the end, but we always want to show there is a metal skeleton in there, and it is quite strong, and so when he wants to go through a wall.
Yeah, speaking of the weapons handling and the bike, I mean, that takes skill. Like, you could be a great actor, but that little thing with the shotgun, maybe you just can't do that, or it doesn't look good, but you're a good actor. So when it comes to like performing stuff like that, that's another thing like they just got to give credit for, because he did it to an extent where you don't question it. Like, it looks like, okay, he knows exactly. It looks like he was programmed to do that, and he does it without error. And just a little back to what I was saying earlier. Like I'm still early stages with what I'm trying to do with this. It obviously works with what I'm doing much better when there's a larger audience to share it with, and it just works better that way. And that's the whole point, is trying to explore it with you guys together. But obviously, even like people that want to do that, they can't always do it. Just like I can't always watch what I want to watch for whatever reasons. So watching it after the fact, or coming across it just from search with the algorithm, whatever, all that matters. And I hate when it doesn't go how I want it to go, especially a movie like Terminator 2. So I don't know, a little self-deprecating, but it's not quite how I wanted it to go. I hate when the beginning is choppy like that, and like I said, I'm still trying to make this work and learning the ropes and stuff. I'll be saying this for another 3 years. Yeah, so I just want to apologize, I guess, and stick with me. Which is also why I think doing the movie watch-along reactions will be even better. It's cohesive. Adds to the experience. And now that I think about it, it's, yeah, I should have done that from the get-go. So stay tuned for that. And by the way, I'm going to do one for Terminator 2. I just, came to this realization when it was too late. I didn't have time to do it. And I'm still figuring out the best way for me to do that. And the movies I've already talked about, at some point I'll get to those, but I'm going to make the future ones a priority. And, yeah, I'm going to go from there.
Well, Jim, I have lost count, but I know we have met several times before, and it's a pleasure to be talking with you again, especially for Terminator 2.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. We have been anticipating this for such a long time. Now, I'm looking at this figure behind you. And where does this, was this actually used in the film?
This appears in an early scene in the film where we see the kind of the future war that's going on, up in the year 2029. These characters are coming back through time to our time, to try to change history. This is what is supposedly inside the Terminator, inside Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. In fact, this is actually inside Arnold. If you always wonder why you see Arnold all.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? Just noticed a little something here. Let me try to. You see that? Look at that. You see my mouse? That's kind of a unique placement there. I guess when I threw that little tidbit in the thing I did, guess I didn't need to. No struggle. Thought there was nothing there, but there's very large something there.
He never seems to rest, he's always going strong. That's why, because he's really a cyborg.
Did you have more than one of these figures?
I think we had 4.
There's been so much talk, Jim, about the cost of this film. Do you have any idea what just one of those figures would cost?
They're about $15.
Oh, come on.
I don't really know, frankly, because Stan Winston, who did a lot of the makeup and the effects of these Terminator figures, did a kind of a package deal, and so this would have been kind of just a whole part of that. The special effects were expensive on the film. They were also all done on budget. It was all through approved money before we started. I usually have an idea of how it can be done. I may be right or I may be wrong, but I try not to limit myself. I try to just come up with something as wild as I can think of it, and then later we'll figure out exactly how to do it. Because I know the best people. I try to work with the best people. Industrial Light and Magic, Stan Winston, some of the other people, Bob and Denny Skotak, the people that have worked with me over the years. We now have a shorthand, common language. We know how to make it look good.
Do you ever dream one up that nobody can execute?
Hasn't happened yet. I came pretty.
That happened with Avatar, if you know anything about that. To an extent. He wanted to make Avatar many years before he actually did, but the technology wasn't there. And it was being actively worked on leading up to it to make it possible.
A couple times on this film. On the Abyss, on the last film, we came up with that kind of water snake effect, and they didn't really know how to do that, but they created some new things. And the same thing happened on this film. They created a lot of new computer software and a lot of new techniques.
Of all the action scenes and or the special effects, Jim, in this picture, Terminator 2, which one pleases you and which are you most proud of?
I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. For me, the film works best when all the elements work. You know, when you laugh, when you cry, when you get that kind of adrenaline rush when an action sequence is going and it makes you want to cheer. You know, I don't really have a favorite shot or anything like that.
Some of the scenes are just so overwhelming that we all sat there going,
It was Dallas Fort Worth. I remember that.
Cinema Showcase.
Yeah, because
which is on PBS.
I remember you interviewing me on Aliens, as I recall. Right. But, you know, we are offering the public, the viewing public, a lot of stuff they've never seen before. A lot of stuff they didn't even know was possible in this film. And that's kind of...
True dat for the time. That's something that we're missing in movies, which I talked a little bit about when I was talking about Movie Magic a couple weeks ago. That just seems to have gone away. That we're gonna bring them something they haven't seen yet. We're gonna shock the audience. We're gonna entertain the hell out of them. It's just like everything's just throwaway, and like there's too much. Part of it is just there's too much shit out there streaming, and nothing is an event anymore. Very rarely some movies squeak by. Obviously, the Barbenheimer Avatar is still that way. Luckily, very few people still have that. Even Ridley Scott, his movies. Like, they just kind of come out and Napoleon, Gladiator 2, like, they just get spit out and they're not events anymore. Part of that is just because, I mean, what is he, like 86 or something? It's clear that he loves what he's doing, but he just doesn't care in the same way. And he's just pumping him out with less care. And there's been stories that have come out. Even his DP on Gladiator 2 was talking shit on him, basically. Saying, like, yeah, he doesn't care anymore. He's just like, there's a boom in the shot. Oh, we'll take it out in post and, like, just basic stuff. And it's too bad, because Ridley Scott's another great. And it's too bad that the movie... the way that the movie business is in general right now, because I miss that. I miss when stuff felt like it was an event, and I don't know, things were more magical. Don't get me started on that again.
It just blew my mind to actually see it, and you go, wow, they've morphed you. You're a liquid mercury man. You're liquid chrome. I don't think I'll get over it, and I totally believed it.
Creating the T-1000 required the combined efforts of Stan Winston's company and industrial...
At the beginning. And it was, it just worked out as perfect as it possibly could.
T-1000's abilities went beyond what was possible with animatronics, makeup, and prosthetics. ILM was given the task of creating the...
I'll give CGI that, as much as I like to hate on it and complain that there's too much of it, not enough practicals. There are certain effects. This is the key. There are certain effects that you just straight up can't do practically. You have to use CGI. I'd say this one is one of them. Like maybe you can get by doing a combo, but because it would just be too... It wouldn't work properly as a practical, like splitting with liquid, and it just wouldn't work. So that's an example of when to use it. When you can't do, that's the key. You should use practical until you can't. Everything you can do practically, do it practically. Only use CGI when it's something you absolutely can't, and it'll be much better for it. And Terminator 2, even though they're having all these technologies, obviously they're more limited, but they didn't go like, hey, let's cram this full of everything that we're doing. Like, they did everything they could practically. Yeah, they did everything they could still practically.
The models were studying Robert Patrick. We got Robert, and he was up here, and we painted a grid on him and shot a lot of footage of him, and we could see how the grid moved as his muscles moved and his body moved around.
This way, I can't move this way. I've got to stay totally controlled, hit this emotion, and lock on this expression, you know, like,
We can reconstruct the actor's face. It's a very free process.
Yeah, doing this kind of shit is when you're like, oh my god, acting sucks. You gotta do what? I gotta come back tomorrow? You know what? This shot in particular right here, I don't even know if that's full practical. I know they had a practical of this exact thing for the explosion, but it's not even clear in this behind the scenes if this whole thing is all practical, because it looks really damn good for a like in terms of movement and everything. It almost looks, and the face, maybe they used a combination or something. But that is exactly how you want to do it. You blending it together, using practical as far as you can, and then you don't question it. You don't question if it's a practical. You don't question that it's CGI, because that's the thing to do now. It's like, this looks like an 80s practical effect. Well, this looks like modern CGI that is just overblast, and it doesn't matter if it technically looks better. It's still CGI. It's not suspending my disbelief. I'm just like, wow, there's all kinds of computer generated stuff in my face right now. And that's like, I would pick practical every day of the week, because it's something that's actually real. Like, they physically shot it. And if you can blend it together like they did in parts of this movie and other movies, that's exactly what you should do. Because yes, CGI can enhance it, but that's the key, is enhance. You have examples like the Thing prequel that was in 2011, where they were originally going to do that. They made a big deal like, hey, the original was known for having amazing practical effects. We're going to do that in this one. Nope. If you know anything about that, studio's like, we're not liking this. It looks like 80s practical effects. Oh, weird. It's almost like the movie they're making a sequel to is known for that. Let's shit on all that and replace everything with CGI. The Thing, if you're going to see The Thing, also called that, the prequel to The Thing, you probably like The Thing. I don't think you're going to be saying, these effects look like they're from the 80s. That's what you're going to see. I'm blowing out the mic here because I'm so pissed. If you get me on that topic, I hate that. Why? God, I wish I could be these studio execs so I could strangle them when they say shit like that. Anyway, they originally were going to use all the practical effects that they created for the film and enhance certain shots with CGI. And you could see in behind the scenes, there was like certain limbs that were green screen or that they were going to remove. And they were going to enhance it. Yes, that's what you want to do with CGI. You take practical as far as you can, and then you enhance it with CGI. Not replace. Frustrating. That's always been the key. Here you go, 1991. Back when they couldn't do 5% of what you can do now in CGI, and they were doing that to great effect. Better than now. And it's probably maybe because CGI, it's hard in a different level, but technically if I knew what I was doing and had all the programs, I could make whatever I wanted in CGI. I can't do that practically. I'm not like an artist like that. I can't sculpt stuff and use animatronic stuff to make it work. I can't do that, but I could learn softwares and make models and stuff by myself with nobody. I mean, that's the difference, honestly. It's becoming a lost art form. And instead of trying to hire these talented people that still can do it, what few of them still exist, let's have the people on the computers do it.
Similarly, the CG element itself, if it's shiny, must also reflect the environment. You create a picture and then wrap that picture around the sculpture. That's called texture mapping.
And one good thing about this metallic CGI effect, it's low resolution. You can tell it's not a lot of detail. It could be done much better. Well, I don't know, actually. You see the newer Terminator, where there's like the metallic guy. Looks a little better, but not huge difference. But the good thing about that is you can forgive the lack of detail because I don't know, it just works. Although I could look at that and say that definitely looks like 90s CGI and it's lower quality and all that, but like it technically still works. Like it's something that can just look like that, and like that's just how it is. Like it's not necessarily a just a low quality thing, or that was limited. Just like how in the thing. Oh, I have a guest right now. Ugh. Surprise live stream guest. We're talking about Terminator 2, Violet. What do you have to say? Nothing? Ugh. Okay. Surprise cameo over. Man, I wanted to show more behind the scenes, but now I'm kind of sketched to do that. Let's get a little taste of Edward Furlong here as a kid.
But I was at the boys club, and the boys club is like a place where there's a lot of video games and places to hang.
Man, he's changed a lot. He looks terrible right now. He has for the last 10 years, 20 years.
For kids. And there's a casting director, her name was Mally Finn, and she came over and she said, can I talk to you? And I go, I'm sorry, I don't know. What did I do? And she goes, I would like you to try out for Terminator 2. Well,
Oh, look at that. That's not something they do anymore. Now they just look at your TikTok and social media and like, 500,000 followers? I'd like you to try out for this movie. Oh, you're a pretty good actor, but you got shit? Fuck off. Get out of here. We don't want to talk to you.
I noticed that behind you is a picture of you looking like Rambo-ette with the gun.
Yes.
You know, I never had any experience with weapons other than kids' cat guns or something. And I just can't imagine what it would be like to have to hold one of these things and fire it. Was it strange to you at first?
Yes, and disturbing, more than a little disturbing. I worked with weapons for quite some time before I started the movie, just to get comfortable with them and efficient, and the fact that this is what it is. And it took some getting used to on a firing range, and there's a certain power that comes with it, and fun actually when I got to learn it, but there are all those other questions about killing and guns, and I'm still not comfortable with that avenue.
Ah, here we go. Yeah. We know. They all like to admit it. Yeah, it was fun, but oh god, guns are terrible. No, people are terrible. Guns don't do shit. I can kill you a lot faster just by running you over than shooting you, unless I'm a good shot. What's that got to do with guns? People are terrible, not guns. God dang it, Bobby Wygrant.
soon after the birth of her son was all this.
This is what you got to say, Linda. Yeah, I trained a lot. It was fun. And I feel good about being able to defend myself and exercising my Second Amendment right. I love being in the USA because of that. Any other questions? You don't got to say, yeah, guns. I don't know. Violence. Human beings are violent. Nothing's going to change that. As a whole, we can all preach to be different and hope. But, yeah, it's in our nature.
Began, shoot.
If we don't have guns, we'll use something else to kill people. Get over it.
My son was 1 year old. I started training.
And when you get over it, or if you had your wish, guess what? There's still going to be guns out there, and the difference is you don't have it. So feel good about that.
So a lot went into it.
Blow it all right away. Have to hold some back and hold on to it. And so there's just a whole world awaiting, and it could go either way.
Long story short, she was great in The Terminator. She was fantastic in Terminator 2. You could tell she trained a lot. Really believable. She kicked ass in it. Terminator 2, it's just an awesome, good time of a movie. I wish I could have seen it in theaters. I hope they do a re-release at some point because I would love to experience that in theaters. I'm sure... Honestly, all of his movies, I wish I could experience all of them. Literally the only one I got to do, as much as of a fan I am of his, is Avatar. I never got to see any of his other movies in theaters, and that's where his films live. Because as I've said before, they're not just films, they're not just movies, they're experiences. Not everyone can make that, and he does every time with all of his movies. They're not just movies, they're not just films. Their experiences. That's a gift. And you don't always want that. Sometimes you want something a little deeper or whatever, more nuanced. There's all kinds of flavors of movies. They all lie in their quadrants of talent and uniqueness and art. Just got to give everyone their due. Reading movie trivia is something I do after I see any movie. And sometimes I'll go back to ones I've already seen, or I'll rewatch something and I'll look at the trivia. It's awesome. There's a lot of good information in it. Of course, you don't know if all of it's true, because I could literally click edit right now and put my own thing in there, and it might get rejected, it might not. I would tend to believe most of this, maybe it's paraphrased or embellished, but for the most part, it's somewhat true, somewhat happened, if not exactly. I guess before we close, as an hour has passed, I feel like 15 minutes was wasted or so in the beginning, but just kind of a zoom out of the Terminator as a film and what it talks about with AI and Judgment Day, nukes. The reason we haven't had, since Hiroshima, a nuclear, although that was on a smaller scale compared to what would happen now, a nuclear conflict, is because most people recognize, even the crazy ones and evil ones, that there's no point to do that, because first of all, it's the end of the world. Depending on who you send that to, it's going to start a chain reaction, just like Skynet, just like this movie. Oh, that's great. I think I just broke this piece of crap thing. Now I got to hold it. It would start a chain reaction that would spell the end of the world and literally turn it into this, minus the robots walking around. And yeah, that's a scary thing that we still live with to this day, and goes through waves. It's pretty high right now, the wave. But most people recognize that that's just not a plausible thing. Although if, someone's crazy or backed into a corner and they have the finger on the button and they're like, I'm dead no matter what, maybe they push it. We don't know. Hopefully that never happens. But yeah, it's a scary thing. Nuclear fallout. And that's also why, honestly, the best thing to do is reduce. Reducing's not even, because all it takes is a few, but you literally have to eliminate it. Like, if everyone could agree, which won't sadly happen, because it's a it's a bingo card, or not a bingo card. It's an ace that nobody wants to throw away that has it, because how do you truly know that everyone gets rid of it? And if you get rid of all yours and then they're like, haha, actually, we still have a couple. Well, now they're the most powerful country in the world, because they can just say, yeah, you don't like it? We're going to nuke you. And you can't do anything about it. Haha. So we're pretty much screwed. It's kind of like phones. You can't go back. Nukes are out there. They're never going to go away. We can try to reduce them, but they never will completely go away. And preventing new countries from getting it is actually a good thing. The less people that have it, the better. But AI is a whole nother thing that when this movie was made, didn't exist. It was just a theory, maybe baby steps on certain things. But now it actually exists. It's not sentient. It's not at this level, but we're even getting robots pretty soon. Elon Musk, among others. I think he's more on the mainstream level, but obviously there's like experimental companies that have been doing it for a long time. And AI's in the accelerated snowball effect that's never going to stop, slow down. It's going to change everything. It's kind of scary. And Terminator 2 and Terminator took it right off the bat without even questioning like where the technology goes. Just like the military gets it, becomes self-aware, realizes we're a threat, which we are, and destroys everyone. So hopefully it doesn't get to that point, because I wouldn't blame a sentient AI who has control, because that's the thing. Like, at some point I think that will happen, but how much power do they have? If they're kind of stuck in a certain mainframe, if you want to call it, like they don't have access to nuclear codes or something, then it's not like an immediate threat, but it's like, well, they can try to advance themselves or get access to things and gain more power. We're just creating another threat to ourselves, basically. But at the same time, if it is self-aware, it recognizes qualities of humans, just how it's kind of a trope that, oh, there's goodness in humans, there's beautiful things, which there are. That's what makes us human, and this and that. They could recognize those things too and be like, yes, they are a threat, but I don't want to destroy it. I'll find another route. So that's a possibility too. This is obviously the worst case scenario, is they get access to our nukes and wipe us out like that, because that's all it would take. And they wouldn't even have to launch like 1,000 nukes everywhere. And I don't think it was clear in Terminator, but in Terminator 2, it's mentioned that Skynet launches the U.S.'s missiles towards Russia, and then Russia retaliates, and that starts the chain reaction. That's really all you would need to do. Get one country to do it, and it starts a chain reaction. So yeah, that's a scary thing, and the movie plays with that. Part of what makes it effective and entertaining is that. And having an impact and feeling what Sarah Connor is going through after everything, and knowing that this is going to happen and nobody believes her, locked up in an insane asylum, and having nightmares that it's going to happen. It's heavy stuff. It's a very heavy and intense, potentially depressing topic, but T2 wraps it up for you in a very nice, entertaining action movie, which is exactly what you want to do to feed these messages to people. is which is something that I think people falsely think of Cameron as like not being deep or not having just popcorn movies that they're throwaway. Yeah, they are. Or they're not throwaway, but they're popcorn movies, if you want to call it that. But they usually have some type of deeper meaning, message, and human connection and romance and all that to offer. It's just in a very digestible mainstream package. This one is obviously nuclear, and The Abyss had that too, actually, with nukes. Nukes being bad and AI being a threat. And we're living in those times now, so scary stuff. And Avatar obviously is environment and humans, greed, taking advantage of stuff. Native Americans or natives of any area of land all over the world. That's just what humans do. They want more. They move to other areas. They conquer people. It's happened all throughout our history. It's, again, something else that's part of our nature, which we've advanced enough to this point where we're all pretty much settled in. There's still a few very prominent figures, Russia, Ukraine, that are trying to conquer more areas. But for the most part, people are settled in. Like, there is no more conquering. So why can't we just be satisfied with that? Why do we always got to look to the past and, oh, God, you stole our land, blah. This is the way the world is now. Arguably, it had to happen the way it happened to bring us to the level we're at now. The world's great. Overall, technology, it is what it is, buddy. Like, that's human nature. Go cry about it to yourself and get over it. I don't get why that's such a big thing. Like, what do you want people to do? Like, leave? Yeah, that's probably what they want. But no, it's the way of the world. It's human nature. Luckily, we've got to a point where that's not necessary anymore. But everything happened the way it happened. And that's just the way it is. A lot of good has come out of that, just like a lot of bad while it was happening, but a lot of good has come from that too. That, let's say that never happened. Maybe a lot of the good things that have happened, all the advancements we're at, maybe those didn't happen either. So it's just, that's life. That's what happened. Let's move forward. That's my message. I don't even know how I just got in that rant, but yes. Ukraine gave up theirs to their detriment. That's exactly right. Which is what happens. If a country has nukes, you're not really going to go mess with them too much. Well, you would think that, but I don't know. History's writing itself differently right now. But for the most part, if you're going after a country that has no nukes, and you do, well, they're pretty powerless. That's the problem. Nobody's going to give up that power. Although it should. We'd all be better off. Because if anyone ever used that power, what's the point? And let's say that happened and it was just a targeted area. Well, you just made that area useless for 100 years or whatever it takes for that fallout to dissipate. So that's great. I hope you didn't care about what... If you were trying to take over that land, you just made it useless. Congratulations. Which is why there's no worry that Russia would ever do that to Ukraine. Why would they do that? Maybe on another nation, although they're not stupid. If they did that to the U.S., what do they think is going to happen to them? They're going to be annihilated just like us. Which is why those threats are kind of hollow, because it's really only if someone like that's backed into a corner and they're like, well, I'm dead anyway. Fuck it, launch the nukes. That's the danger. All right, there's a lot of... like I said before, this one didn't quite go how I wanted it, mainly in the beginning, because... no point to get into it. I apologize for that. I wish that it was better in the beginning. But I do want to add that I will be doing the movie watch-along / reactions in the future. Next Wednesday, which I may adjust the day, but next week, True Lies, I'll be talking about next. And then the following week on Monday, just because of Christmas, Titanic, which surprisingly, even though it's kind of the oddball of his movies in terms of the genre, I've been kind of waiting to talk about that one, like aside from the show and just in general. And then the day after that, a Christmas special. What's the best Christmas movie? You're going to find out on December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve. Other than that, I'm going to be... So The Thing is probably my favorite sci-fi horror movie made by John Carpenter. At some point I'll get to that one when I go through Carpenter's filmography. But they made a video game for it in the 2000s, which I got for Die Hard. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good pick. We'll find out the one we'll be exploring on the 23rd. You may be satisfied. Yeah, they made a video game that was technically a sequel to The Thing in the 2000s. I think it came out for Xbox originally, the original Xbox. And yeah, I love that game. Well, they made a remastered version that just came out a couple of days ago. And I haven't played video games in a while. I just don't have time for it. I used to be much bigger into games. Yeah, I can't even remember the last time I played one. And I don't even have I have a console, but I don't ever use it. I actually wanted to play that game, like the original, and I was trying to find like an emulator or just a way to do it. And this was like a year or two ago, and I just never did. But luckily, my dreams came true, and they remastered it, released it on PC a couple days ago. So I'm going to be... This isn't a normal thing for this channel. I'm not like a video game player who live streams and stuff. Oh my god, did this thing freeze again? That's great. Oh, wow. Well, this is a problem I don't have to deal with. I don't know how to stop that. That's great. So I was saying I'm going to be live streaming that game at some point just because it's The Thing and I love that movie, and why not? And it is cool because it's like a sequel to the movie and it's in video game form, so I'll be doing a live stream of that, probably in multiple parts. I have no idea when, but that's on the docket. It won't be a normal thing. Like I said, I'm not a video game streamer, but I am going to be doing that. All right, so I went a little over. That's basically it. True Lies next week. Terminator 2. Oh, I'm confirming those little things I do in the beginning. I'm not going to be playing that again, just because it feels weird to cut back to that, and especially after having it already being shown. Even though some people, or maybe majority, miss it because that's at the very beginning. If you want to see that, watch it when it starts in the beginning. And then I or depending on what it is, I'll be releasing it separately, and you can always rewatch it later. All right, well, that's it. Dang it. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Skynet's going to get us all. Having said all that, there's only one thing left to say. Thank you for tuning in, and...
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over. What the fuck are we going to do now? What are we going to do?